Have you ever noticed how the person who stays calm in chaos always seems to be the one in control? While others panic, while emotions spill over and mistakes are made, the one who holds their silence, who breathes slowly, who refuses to let the storm inside match the storm outside, is the one who outsmarts everyone else. Calmness is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is the deepest form of strength, the kind that cannot be faked and cannot be shaken. The truth is, most people never master this. They rush, they react, they let anger, fear, and anxiety dictate every move. And because of that, they lose clarity, they lose opportunities, they lose respect. But the person who embraces stillness has an edge that no distraction can touch. Stillness is power. Stillness is strategy. Stillness is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. Think about it. In a world filled with noise, where everyone competes to be louder, faster, and more dramatic, the one who chooses silence instantly stands out. A calm mind sees what others miss. A calm mind hears the things hidden between the noise. A calm mind makes decisions that look like wisdom to others but are really just clarity born of patience. And this is where you begin to outsmart everyone, not by racing harder, not by shouting louder, but by stepping back, breathing deeper, and thinking clearer. You've felt the pull of chaos before, the racing heart, the urge to say something sharp, the impulse to act before thinking. That's the trap most fall into. But what if you trained yourself to pause instead? What if, in the exact moment others lose themselves, you rooted yourself deeper in calm? That single choice will separate you. That single act would transform your presence. You would no longer be controlled by the situation. You would control how the situation unfolds around you. And here's the beauty of it. Stillness is not something you're born with. It is something you practice. Every time you resist the urge to react instantly, you grow stronger. Every time you let silence fill the gap where anger wanted to erupt, you gain power. Every time you stay calm when others are losing control, you build a reputation that nothing can buy, the reputation of being unshakable. People trust the calm, people follow the calm, and people underestimate just how powerful the calm truly are. When you master this, you unlock a kind of freedom most will never know. You stop being dragged around by every insult, every challenge, every twist of fate. You begin to see the world for what it is, not through the fog of emotion, but through the lens of truth. And with that truth comes advantage. You'll notice opportunities where others see problems. You'll find solutions while others are drowning in panic. You'll stay steady while everyone else burns out. So ask yourself, do you want to keep blending in with the crowd that reacts, or do you want to stand out as the one who remains untouchable? The choice is yours. Calmness is not given, it is created. And when you choose it, when you train it, when you own it, you become the kind of person who doesn't just survive the storm. You become the one who uses the storm to rise higher. Stay here because this is only the beginning. The keys to outsmarting everyone else start with stillness, but they do not end here. Calmness without ego becomes unstoppable because what destroys more people than pressure is pride. Ego is the voice that whispers you need to prove yourself, that you must always win, that your worth depends on being praised or noticed. And nothing blinds intelligence faster than that. The moment you act from ego, you lose clarity. You stop listening, you stop seeing, you stop learning. You begin defending illusions instead of pursuing truth. But when you let go of ego, you step into a different dimension of strength. You no longer need validation to move forward. You no longer need applause to feel secure. You become someone who chooses growth over recognition, truth over comfort, wisdom over attention. And that makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Because while others waste energy protecting their fragile pride, you save yours for progress. You use it to sharpen your mind, to refine your choices, to keep building while others are stuck defending. Ego creates enemies out of allies. It creates fear out of challenges. It creates weakness disguised as arrogance. But humility, the kind born not from insecurity but from discipline, is a weapon few people understand. Humility keeps you open to correction. It keeps you adaptable. It keeps you rooted in reality. And reality is where real power exists. Imagine how many opportunities slip through people's hands because they were too proud to admit they didn't know something, too proud to ask for help, too proud to stay quiet when silence would have made them stronger. Pride has cost people more than failure ever has. But humility never costs you anything except illusions. It strips away the mask so you can focus on what actually matters, becoming sharper, wiser, freer, When you operate without ego, you stop competing with everyone around you. You begin competing only with yourself, and that shift is everything. It means no one can manipulate you with flattery or crush you with criticism. You stop being reactive to opinions because opinions no longer define you. You define you. Your standards, your values, your discipline, that is what you measure yourself against. And that is why you rise above the crowd, because the crowd is still fighting to be seen while you are focused on being better. There is no smarter move than freeing yourself from the prison of ego. It gives you peace others cannot buy. It gives you freedom others cannot fake. It gives you a kind of quiet authority that no amount of noise can challenge. People may not always understand it, but they will feel it. They will sense that you are not moved by the same shallow forces that move everyone else. And that makes you unpredictable, untouchable, and powerful beyond measure. So ask yourself, are you willing to let go of the need to look important so you can actually become important? Are you ready to trade the weight of pride for the lightness of clarity? Because when you do, you no longer need to outshine anyone. You outgrow them. And that is the essence of outsmarting the world, not by proving you are better, but by becoming someone who doesn't need to prove anything at all. When ego fades, emotions try to take its place. Anger, envy, fear, and desire. These are the forces that control most people's lives. They react to insults with rage. They react to success with jealousy. They react to uncertainty with panic. And because they are always reacting, they can never truly lead. They are prisoners of impulse, chained by feelings that rise and fall without warning. That is why emotional discipline is the greatest separator between those who stumble and those who outsmart. To control your emotions does not mean to suppress them. It means to master them. It means you no longer allow anger to dictate your words or fear to dictate your decisions. You become the one who feels deeply but chooses wisely, and that choice is what gives you power. Because the person who can remain steady when provoked, calm when threatened, focused when tempted, is a person who is always one move ahead. Think about the opportunities destroyed in seconds of lost control. The words shouted that could not be taken back. The decisions made in anger that became permanent regret. The envy that poisoned friendships. The fear that killed ambition. Every time someone loses control of their emotions, they hand over their power. They allow the world to push them like a leaf in the wind. But the one who refuses to be moved, who stands like a mountain while the storm rages, is the one who owns the outcome. And here's the truth most never see. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Anger is a signal that something matters to you. Fear is a signal that risk is near. Envy is a signal that you want more for yourself. These signals are valuable, but only if you learn to interpret them instead of obeying them. The crowd obeys. The Stoic translates, and that translation turns chaos into clarity, weakness into strength, confusion into wisdom. Every moment you resist the urge to lash out, you strengthen your grip on yourself. Every time you pause before reacting, you sharpen your vision. Every time you choose patience over impulse, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken. This is how you rise above, not by fighting harder, not by speaking louder, but by mastering the very forces that control almost everyone else. Emotional discipline is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about becoming free. Free from manipulation because no insult can control you. Free from fear because uncertainty cannot paralyze you. Free from temptation because pleasure cannot distract you. You become the rare kind of person who moves with intention, not impulse. And intention always outsmarts chaos. So when you feel anger boiling, remember, silence is power. When fear whispers, remember, courage is choice. When envy bites, remember, growth is available to you if you focus on yourself instead of others. You hold the steering wheel, you decide the direction. The world can push, but it cannot control the one who has mastered themselves. Ask yourself this: how much longer will you let emotions write your story? How much longer will you allow impulse to rob you of wisdom? Because the day you decide to control your emotions is the day you become untouchable. And once you are untouchable, you are already outsmarting the world. The mind that controls emotion gains another advantage, the ability to accept reality as it is. Most people exhaust themselves fighting what they cannot change. They replay the past in their heads, cursing mistakes and blaming circumstances. They project fear onto the future, imagining disasters that haven't even happened yet. And in doing so, They waste their strength on illusions, leaving nothing left for the present moment. But the one who practices acceptance does not waste energy. They conserve it. They redirect it. They use it to move forward while everyone else is trapped in resistance. Acceptance is not surrender. It is not passively giving up. It is seeing clearly. It is choosing to acknowledge the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable. Because clarity is power. And when you see life as it truly is, you stop being fooled by appearances, by false hopes, by imagined fears. You face reality directly, and that makes you unshakable. Think about the power hidden in this shift. A setback arrives. Most people panic, deny, or complain. They spend days wishing things were different, but the one who accepts it immediately is already ahead. They are already asking, what can I do with this? How can this serve me? How can I turn this into strength? And while others remain frozen in frustration, they move forward. That speed, that adaptability, that mental clarity, that is what outsmarts the crowd every time. Life will never bend to your will. It will challenge you, humble you, and break your plans again and again. If you waste your time demanding that it should be easy, you lose. If you cling to the fantasy that the world owes you smooth paths, you lose. But if you embrace reality as it comes, if you treat every obstacle not as a wall but as a tool, you win. Because nothing outside you can stop the one who refuses to resist what is. There is deep freedom in this. Freedom from bitterness because you no longer cling to what should have been. Freedom from fear because you know you can adapt no matter what comes. Freedom from paralysis because you move with what is instead of fighting against it. This is not resignation, this is liberation. The liberated mind is efficient, calm, and decisive. And efficiency outsmarts wasted energy every time. Ask yourself how much of your life has been wasted fighting reality? How many days were lost wishing circumstances were different instead of acting within them? That habit ends the moment you choose acceptance. That is when you begin using life instead of resenting it. That is when every challenge becomes an ally in disguise. Acceptance transforms you into someone untouchable. When life throws chaos at you, you don't complain. You adapt. When the unexpected happens, you don't freeze, you respond. When the plan falls apart, you don't collapse, you build a new one. And that ability makes you look stronger, wiser, and sharper than everyone around you. This is how the Stoic outsmarts the world, not by wishing for perfect conditions, but by mastering imperfect ones. Not by resisting the truth, but by wielding it. And when you live this way, there is nothing the world can throw at you that you cannot turn into fuel for your rise. Pain is not your enemy. It is the sharpening stone of the mind, the fire that tempers strength, the pressure that reveals resilience. Most people run from it, numb it, or complain about it. They see suffering as a curse, a punishment, a signal that life is unfair. And in avoiding it, they also avoid growth, wisdom, and power. The person who uses pain as fuel, who embraces it instead of fleeing, becomes sharper, faster, and wiser than everyone who only chases comfort. Every struggle carries a lesson. Every hardship carries an advantage. Every challenge carries an opportunity to rise above what would have broken others. Pain is the most honest teacher. It exposes weakness. It reveals truth. It demands adaptation. Those who learn its lessons not only survive, they evolve. They become the kind of person who sees threats as opportunities, failures as feedback, and obstacles as training grounds for greatness. Imagine how different life would feel if every setback became a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. Imagine converting fear into courage, rejection into determination, loss into insight. This is not wishful thinking. It is a practice. It is the deliberate choice to see the value in hardship. When you stop fearing pain, it loses its power over you. And when it loses its power, you gain the freedom to move, to act, to rise in ways others cannot even imagine. Pain teaches patience. It teaches endurance. It teaches focus. The moment you stop resisting it, you gain clarity. You stop wasting energy on frustration, resentment, or despair. You begin to see patterns where others see chaos. You begin to calculate where others act blindly. You begin to understand not just how to survive life, but how to use life itself as a tool for mastery. The Stoic who embraces suffering does not seek it unnecessarily, but they do not shrink from it either. They meet it head on. They learn from it. They allow it to sculpt their mind, their character, and strategy. And in doing so, they become someone who cannot be underestimated. While most people are weakened by their pain, the disciplined person is strengthened. While most collapse under pressure, The prepared mind adapts, outmaneuvers, and excels. You have the same opportunity. Every moment of discomfort, every moment of loss, every moment of fear is a chance to train yourself, to see clearly, to act wisely, to become stronger than the world around you. The key is not to avoid it, but to use it, to take the raw energy of difficulty and transform it into insight, endurance, and advantage. That is how you rise above the crowd, how you outthink the distracted, how you outlast the unprepared. So when pain comes, do not flinch. Do not complain. Do not wish it away. Lean into it. Study it. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Let it harden your mind without hardening your heart. The world will not wait for you to be comfortable. It will not pause for your convenience. The moment you decide to turn suffering into strength, you gain a power most people will never touch. You become someone who not only survives hardship, but who uses it to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outperform everyone else. Pain is your ally if you accept it. Fear it, and it will control you. Embrace it, and it will elevate you. And elevation is a difference between following the crowd and standing above it, between being caught in the storm and mastering it. Every scar, every setback, every challenge becomes a tool in your hands when you understand this truth. Silence is more than absence of noise. It is strategy. It is armor. It is unseen strength. While most people speak to fill the emptiness, to prove themselves, to react to every stimulus, the one who chooses restraint gains a hidden advantage. Every word you withhold, every pause you take, every moment you observe before reacting builds power that others cannot see but cannot ignore. Silence makes you unpredictable, unassailable, and sharp. Speaking without control is surrendering your influence to the moment. It is letting emotion dictate your actions, letting impulse override wisdom. But when you practice restraint, every word becomes deliberate, every thought calculated, every reaction purposeful. People notice this even if they cannot name it. They sense it, they feel it, and when they do, they instinctively recognize authority, clarity, and control, qualities that make someone appear smarter, stronger, and infinitely more capable than the crowd around them. The world is noisy, chaotic, and filled with distraction. People rush to speak, to argue, to insist on being heard. But the one who listens, who waits, who absorbs more than they release, gains insight that no chatter can provide. You begin to see patterns that others miss. You hear truths buried beneath the noise. You act with precision because your mind is not fractured by impulsive reactions, and that precision is power. There's a quiet intimidation in silence. It makes people reveal themselves, underestimate you, and speak too freely. While they act without thought, you are already calculating, analyzing, preparing. Every conversation becomes a chance to gather information, to assess motives, to understand weaknesses. Silence does not make you weak. It makes you aware. It turns ordinary moments into tactical advantages, and this awareness transforms how you interact with the world, making every decision smarter, every move stronger, every response more effective. Silence also breeds patience. The crowd demands instant gratification, instant response, instant reaction. They fall for the urgency of others because they are distracted, impulsive, and emotionally reactive. But the disciplined mind knows that time is an ally. By observing, by waiting, by letting others exhaust themselves with noise, you preserve energy, clarity, and perspective. You make the moves that matter while everyone else wastes theirs on trivial battles. Every word you speak carries weight because it is chosen, measured, and intentional. Every action you take becomes more precise because it is rooted in observation, not impulse. Every relationship, every negotiation, every challenge is met with a calm authority that others cannot easily contest. People respect it. People follow it. People fear it because it is rare, and rare things are powerful. Ask yourself, how many times have you spoken when silence would have given you the advantage? How often have you reacted when patience could have won the moment for you? The strength of silence is not passive. It is the ability to act with thought, to respond with strategy, and to navigate life with a clarity that no noise can disrupt. Embrace it. Let stillness in your words reflect the mastery in your mind. Let restraint in your speech mirror discipline in your actions. Let silence become your weapon, your shield, your unseen force that outmaneuvers, outthinks, and outlasts everyone else. The world may not respect noise, but it will always recognize wisdom, and wisdom often speaks softly after everyone else is finished shouting. Focus is the ultimate weapon. The world is full of distractions designed to scatter your mind, to steal your energy, to dilute your attention. Most people flip from one thing to another, chasing every notification, every opinion, every fleeting impulse. They call it multitasking, but it is actually self-sabotage. Every divided thought weakens clarity. Every fragmented moment steals power. The one who masters focus becomes unstoppable because they channel all their energy where it matters most. Focus is not just concentration. It is intentionality. It is the ability to place your mind fully on what you can control and ignore everything else. The noise of the world will not vanish, but your attention will. You decide where it goes, and that decision determines your advantage. While others waste effort on what is irrelevant, you move decisively, efficiently, and strategically. Your mind becomes a laser that cuts through confusion and indecision. The human mind craves control, yet most people hand it over to circumstance. Fear, doubt, curiosity, and distraction pull them in 1,000 directions, but the disciplined mind resists. It chooses, it prioritizes, it acts with clarity, and that clarity is lethal in its effect. Opportunities are no longer hidden in the chaos. They are obvious, reachable, inevitable. The one who focuses sees patterns, predicts outcomes, and executes before others even realize what is happening. Focus demands sacrifice. You cannot chase every pleasure, every approval, every trivial interest and still wield it. The crowded mind is a weak mind. The scattered mind is a powerless mind. But when you concentrate your energy on what truly matters, your craft, your growth, your discipline, you begin to outpace everyone who spreads themselves too thin. You become faster, smarter, and more resilient. Your work carries weight. Your decisions carry authority. Your presence carries certainty. Every distraction you resist strengthens the part of you that matters most. Every time you say no to the irrelevant, you say yes to your power. Every moment you prioritize action over reaction, clarity over chaos, mastery over noise, you rise above the ordinary. You become someone whose mind is untouchable, whose strategy is invisible, and whose progress is unstoppable. Focus is also freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of external opinion. It frees you from the exhaustion of multitasking. It frees you from the endless loop of comparison and doubt. When your mind is aligned, undistracted, and directed toward your purpose, you operate in a state that most will never experience. And in that state, success is not a possibility. It is a natural consequence. Ask yourself, how often have you drifted through life, pulled by impulses, pushed by distraction, weakened by divided attention? How much stronger, faster, and smarter could you become if you took control of your focus today? Because mastery of attention is mastery of life itself. It turns potential into results, thought into action, and chaos into strategy. When you embrace focus, the world begins to bend around you. Opportunities become visible, challenges become manageable, and progress becomes inevitable. Your mind sharpens while others dull. Your clarity illuminates while others stumble in the fog. And the person who can control focus, who directs it with precision and discipline, becomes someone who doesn't just move through life. They outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast everyone else. Discipline is the backbone of every achievement. Talent alone is fragile. Inspiration alone is fleeting. Only discipline transforms potential into results, ideas into action, and effort into mastery. Most people admire the discipline, but few cultivate it. They wait for motivation to strike, for conditions to feel right, for energy to appear. And while they wait, the discipline moves forward day after day, building habits that compound into unstoppable power. Discipline is not punishment. It is freedom. It is the freedom to act when others hesitate, to persist when others quit, to rise above when others falter. It is the ability to stick to your purpose, even when the world tempts you with distractions, comfort, and excuses. Every habit, every routine, every deliberate choice strengthens a muscle that will carry you farther than any burst of talent ever could. The disciplined mind creates structure in chaos, while others flounder under pressure, succumb to impulse, and waste energy on trivial matters. You operate with clarity, purpose, and precision. Your days, your actions, and your decisions are aligned with what matters most. You do not surrender to fleeting pleasures or empty habits. You invest in what builds strength, knowledge, and influence, and over time, that investment becomes invisible power that sets you apart. Discipline sharpens willpower. Every time you resist comfort for growth, Every time you complete a task when your body or mind screams to quit, you strengthen your inner resolve. You learn that nothing external can dictate your action. You learn that you can endure, persist, and prevail regardless of circumstances. And that resilience, that unshakable determination becomes a force that others cannot compete with. There is a psychological advantage in discipline that few understand. People who lack it are predictable, reactive, and inconsistent. They are distracted by desire, stalled by procrastination, and weakened by fleeting impulses. The disciplined, however, are deliberate, consistent, and unstoppable. Every choice becomes a step forward. Every action compounds. Every day builds momentum. And momentum is the invisible weapon that outpaces talent, opportunity, and luck. Discipline also protects freedom. It frees you from the chaos of indecision. It liberates you from regret and wasted potential. When your actions are consistent, deliberate, and aligned with your values, you stop being at the mercy of circumstance. You no longer drift through life reacting to events. You act with authority. You navigate life with strategy. You move forward while others stumble. Ask yourself, how much of your potential remains untapped because you lack the structure to sustain it? How much power could you wield if every day, every choice, every action was deliberate and consistent? Discipline is the answer. It is the tool that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results, average days into unstoppable progress, and fleeting ambition into lasting mastery. When you embrace discipline, you rise above distraction, weakness, and chaos. You build a foundation that cannot be shaken, a routine that cannot be broken, a momentum that cannot be stopped. And a person who lives with this kind of unwavering self-control does not merely keep up with the world. They outthink, outwork, and outlast everyone around them. This is the invisible edge that makes the discipline not just successful, but untouchable. Life is finite. Time is precious. Most people ignore this truth, acting as if they have endless days, endless chances, endless opportunities to fix mistakes, to take risks, to pursue growth. They procrastinate, they settle, they postpone, and the world moves forward without them. The Stoic understands that mortality is not a threat to fear, but a tool to sharpen focus, courage, and urgency. Awareness of death fuels action. It strips away trivial concerns. It makes every moment matter. When you confront the reality of your limited time, you begin to see clearly what is truly important. You stop chasing empty pleasures and meaningless approval. You stop wasting energy on arguments that go nowhere and distractions that lead to nothing. Every decision gains weight. Every action gains urgency. Every moment becomes a chance to invest in yourself, to grow stronger, to rise above the ordinary. The world rewards those who understand this. The world moves aside for those who act while others hesitate. Mortality awakens clarity and priorities. It forces you to ask yourself what matters, who matters, and what legacy you wish to leave. Those who ignore this truth drift through life, reactive and passive, living as if consequences are distant. Those who embrace it act decisively, intentionally, and strategically because they know every choice is significant. Every opportunity seized becomes a step ahead of the crowd. Every failure faced becomes a lesson etched into experience. Time becomes an ally instead of an enemy. The psychological effect of this awareness is profound. Scarcity sharpens the mind. Finite resources create focus. When you realize that your time is limited, procrastination becomes intolerable. Laziness becomes unbearable. Complaints about unfairness become irrelevant. Every moment is precious, every effort amplified, every action magnified. And the person who internalizes this begins to move with precision, urgency, and intelligence that most cannot match. Facing mortality also liberates you from fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. These vanish in the presence of ultimate truth. When you know that time will run out regardless, you understand that inaction is the real risk. Boldness becomes the rational choice. Courage becomes the standard. And the fear-driven hesitation that holds back the majority no longer controls you. You become someone who takes what must be taken, acts when others freeze, and seizes what matters before it slips away. Ask yourself, how often have you let precious time slip by, distracted by trivialities, enslaved to comfort, or trapped in indecision? How much power would you gain if every moment were treated as the rare opportunity it truly is? The Stoic does not waste life. They use it. They leverage every second to build skill, wisdom, and strength. They outpace the distracted, outthink the complacent, and outlast the unprepared. When you live with the awareness of mortality, life becomes urgent and intentional. Your focus sharpens, your courage strengthens, your choices gain weight. You no longer drift with the current, you steer with purpose, and the person who steers this way cannot be outmaneuvered by panic, indecision, or hesitation. They become someone who does not just survive the world, they command it, outsmart it, and rise above it in every possible way. Freedom comes when you stop caring about what others think. Most people live their lives as prisoners to approval, praise, and validation. Every decision is weighed against imagined judgments. Every action is filtered through fear of criticism, and in doing so, they surrender power over themselves to the opinions of others. The Stoic knows that true mastery begins when external voices lose their grip. Influence over yourself outweighs influence over the world. Indifference to praise or criticism does not mean apathy. It means clarity. It means prioritizing your values and principles above fleeting approval. When you act according to what is right, not what is popular, you build integrity, authority, and unshakable confidence. People may misunderstand you, envy you, or oppose you, but their reactions cannot touch your self-control, your focus, or your purpose. That freedom is a weapon few ever wield. The psychological power in this is undeniable. Social validation is one of the strongest drivers of human behavior. Most people chase likes, applause, and recognition, even at the cost of their true path. They bend to the opinions of others and lose momentum, clarity, and self-respect. The person who rejects this compulsion suddenly moves faster, acts with precision, and makes decisions without hesitation. They become unpredictable because their actions are guided not by fear or desire for approval, but by wisdom, strategy, and principle. Every choice you make for yourself, not for others, strengthens your autonomy. Every time you act without needing permission, every time you move without seeking validation, you fortify a mental armor that cannot be penetrated by gossip, ridicule, or envy. And when you combine this freedom with discipline, focus, and courage, you become untouchable. You operate in a space where most are blind, free from the chains of opinion, unshaken by praise, immune to criticism, and guided only by purpose. Think about the energy wasted on approval seeking, the hours spent justifying, explaining, or performing, the anxiety, the stress, the fear of disapproval. All of it disappears when you refuse to surrender your inner authority. All of it is replaced by clarity, speed, and power. You no longer have to react to every jab or compliment. You can act from a higher ground, where the mind is calm, precise, and unshakable. This is the key to fearless action. When no one else's opinion can sway you, you operate with boldness that terrifies those trapped by judgment. You take risks they cannot take. You make moves they cannot make. You rise above the hesitation, the doubt, the second guessing that controls ordinary minds. And in doing so, you not only outsmart the world, you become impossible to manipulate. Ask yourself, how often have you held back, altered your choices, or wasted energy because you fear what others would think? How much power would you gain if you were completely free from that prison? The moment you act from independence, you unlock a force most people never experience. Your mind becomes sovereign, your actions unstoppable, and your presence commanding. The world may shower praise or strike with criticism, but neither can touch the one who governs themselves. That person is not swayed by opinion, not broken by judgment, and not slowed by envy. They move with purpose, clarity, and authority. They are a force of nature, unseen but undeniable, calm yet commanding. And in that freedom lies the ability to outsmart everyone else, without fighting, without fear, and without compromise. True power comes when you choose virtue over comfort. Most people chase ease, pleasure, and convenience, mistaking them for fulfillment. They surrender to instant gratification, to the path of least resistance, to whatever feels good in the moment. And in doing so, they trade strength for weakness, discipline for indulgence, and potential for mediocrity. The Stoic understands that lasting success is never born from comfort. It is forged in the deliberate choice to act according to principles, even when it is difficult. Choosing virtue means acting with integrity when no one is watching. It means doing what is right, not what is easy. It means resisting temptation, avoiding shortcuts, and enduring hardship to align with a higher standard. Every choice you make in favor of discipline, honesty, courage, and patience builds character, sharpens judgment, and creates a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance or distraction. Comfort is fleeting, virtue lasts. The psychological effect of this choice is profound. Humans are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, yet the people who rise above instinct and embrace difficulty gain a massive advantage. They develop resilience, focus, and self-control that ordinary minds lack. They see the long-term consequences of actions that others ignore. They operate from a position of strength because they have learned to defer instant gratification for enduring power. And that ability is rare but unstoppable. Every act of self-discipline, every refusal of temptation, every decision to follow principle over ease compounds over time. Ordinary people think in days, weeks, or months. The disciplined think in years, decades, lifetimes. While others are distracted by fleeting desires, you are building the structure of mastery, mental, emotional, and strategic. You are creating a life that cannot be derailed by momentary impulses, external noise, or the chaos of circumstance. Choosing virtue also sharpens clarity and vision. When you prioritize what is right over what is comfortable, you see the world without distortion. You recognize true opportunities, avoid hidden traps, and navigate life with precision. Comfort clouds judgment, pleasure blinds the mind, difficulty awakens insight. By embracing challenge, by adhering to principle, you cultivate a perspective that elevates every decision, every action, and every interaction. Ask yourself, how often have you chosen ease over excellence? How many opportunities for growth, mastery, and strength have slipped because you sought comfort instead of virtue? The moment you commit to doing what is right, even when it is hard, you activate a power that cannot be matched. You rise above distraction, weakness, and mediocrity. You cultivate the mental and moral edge that outpaces everyone who settles for less. When you live by principle rather than comfort, life begins to bend in your favor. Decisions become clearer, focus becomes sharper, and discipline becomes effortless. You no longer chase the fleeting or the trivial. You invest in what matters. You endure what others avoid. You rise above what others cannot. In that elevation, you are no longer part of the crowd. You are the force that defines the standard, the one who operates from integrity, strength, and relentless purpose, outsmarting everyone else without compromise. Control over your desires is the final edge that separates ordinary people from those who outsmart the world. Most of life is a battle between impulses and discipline, between short-term craving and long-term vision. People surrender constantly. They eat when they should wait, speak when they should listen, react when they should observe, indulge when they should resist. Each act of surrender chips away at potential, weakens willpower, and leaves them vulnerable to distraction and manipulation. The one who masters desire, who chooses restraint over indulgence, gains an invisible power that few even recognize. Desire is a relentless force. It pulls at your attention, clouds your judgment, and erodes self-control. Most people mistake it for passion or instinct, but unrestrained desire is the enemy of clarity, strategy, and wisdom. The Stoic understands that mastery over inner cravings is not denial, it is liberation. By controlling desire, you free your mind, energy, and focus for what truly matters. You stop being a slave to impulse and start being the architect of your own life. Every act of self-restraint compounds into power. Every time you pause before acting on a fleeting urge, you strengthen the part of you that is deliberate, aware, and resilient. Every choice to prioritize long-term goals over temporary pleasure creates momentum that others cannot match. While the majority chase whatever momentarily excites them, you conserve energy, build clarity, and prepare for opportunity. That preparation becomes invisible leverage that gives you an advantage in ways people around you cannot comprehend. Control over desire also builds immunity to manipulation. People who act on impulse are predictable. They are easily influenced by peer pressure, flattery, or fear. They trade their power for momentary satisfaction. The disciplined mind, however, acts deliberately. It evaluates, weighs, and decides before responding. It moves with intention, not instinct. That mental independence makes you untouchable because no external force can dictate your action without your consent. Think about the freedom inherent in this control. You no longer chase validation, pleasure, or avoidance of discomfort. You no longer allow temporary impulses to dictate your behavior. You act according to strategy, principle, and long-term vision. Every step forward becomes intentional, precise, and aligned with your purpose. Desire loses its sway, and with it, the chaos that controls the majority of people. You move like a force of nature, calm, decisive, and unstoppable. Ask yourself, how often have fleeting once led you off course? How many moments of opportunity have been squandered chasing temporary satisfaction? The moment you decide to govern your desires, you reclaim power that the world constantly tries to steal. You step into a state where clarity, focus, and strategy dominate every decision. You act with freedom, efficiency, and precision that others cannot touch. When desire is controlled, life transforms, energy multiplies, focus intensifies, and decision-making becomes effortless. The world may tempt, distract, and provoke, but you remain anchored, unshaken, and aware. This mastery over your impulses is not just a skill. It is an invisible force that elevates you above reaction, weakness, and mediocrity. The one who rules their inner world rules the outer world, and that is the ultimate way to outsmart everyone else. Action without hesitation is the mark of the unstoppable. Most people wait for perfect conditions, for external permission, for clarity that never arrives. They linger in uncertainty, trapped by overthinking and fear, while opportunity passes them by. The Stoic understands that hesitation is the enemy of progress. To outsmart the world, you must act decisively, even when conditions are imperfect, even when the outcome is unknown, because action generates momentum, clarity, and power. Hesitation breeds doubt, anxiety, and missed chances. Every second spent wavering allows others to take the advantage. Every delay diminishes confidence and erodes authority. The person who acts swiftly, deliberately, and intelligently creates the reality around them, rather than reacting to the reality created by others. Action is the language of control. Movement is the manifestation of power. Decisiveness is the invisible edge that separates leaders from followers. Acting without hesitation requires preparation. It requires discipline, focus, emotional control, and clarity of values. All the principles you have cultivated up to this point. The prepared mind does not panic, second guess, or freeze. It sees the path, weighs the variables, and moves. Momentum builds with each calculated decision. The faster, more precise, and more confident your actions, the greater the advantage over those who delay, hesitate, or falter under pressure. The psychology behind decisive action is undeniable. Hesitation amplifies fear, magnifies doubt, and weakens resolve. Immediate, deliberate action suppresses these forces. It channels energy into progress instead of stagnation. It transforms uncertainty into learning, risk into insight, and opportunity into results. The world rewards those who act while others wait. The Stoic acts, learns, adapts, and moves forward while the crowd is paralyzed by indecision. Every moment you hesitate is a moment you surrender power to circumstance. Every time you act boldly and intentionally, you reclaim control. Momentum compounds. Confidence solidifies. Clarity sharpens. The mind that moves decisively outpaces every reactive, distracted, and wavering competitor. Action creates the rhythm of dominance, the cadence of mastery, and the invisible advantage that others cannot replicate. Ask yourself, how often have you missed opportunities because you hesitated? How often have you allowed fear, doubt, or the need for certainty to delay the very steps that could define your life? The moment you commit to acting decisively, you gain leverage over time, over circumstance, and over those who linger in uncertainty. Your presence becomes commanding because it signals clarity, purpose, and confidence that cannot be faked. When hesitation is removed, life accelerates, obstacles become manageable, decisions become clear, progress becomes inevitable. The one who acts swiftly, intelligently, and without delay commands not only their own destiny, but also the environment around them. They become unpredictable to competitors, unstoppable in pursuit, and untouchable in effect. Mastery is not found in contemplation alone. It is forged in decisive action that transforms thought into reality. Decisive action is the culmination of every principle you have cultivated: calmness, emotional control, focus, discipline, acceptance, mastery over desire, and virtue all converge in the ability to move without hesitation. And when you combine all of these with immediate, intelligent action, you become someone who does not merely react to life. You shape it, control it, and outsmart everyone who fails to act. Observation is your secret weapon. Most people see, but they do not notice. They hear, but they do not understand. They react to the surface of reality without perceiving the depth beneath it. The Stoic knows that true intelligence comes from careful observation, the ability to read the currents of behavior, the patterns of thought, and the hidden forces that shape outcomes. To outsmart the world, you must see clearly, and seeing clearly begins with paying attention. Observation requires patience and stillness. It is the practice of noticing what others miss, of listening without judgment, of analyzing without rushing to conclusion. While the distracted mind reacts impulsively, the observant mind absorbs, interprets, and strategizes. Every gesture, every word, every detail carries information that can be used to gain advantage, predict outcomes, and act decisively when others remain blind. Observation transforms chaos into clarity, confusion into insight, and randomness into opportunity. The psychological edge of observation is profound. Humans are predictable when they are unaware, when they assume others act like them, when they fail to notice subtle patterns. The person who observes understands motives, anticipates moves, and responds intelligently. They are not manipulated by appearance, distraction, or emotion. They see what is, not what is imagined or desired, and that clarity allows them to make decisions that others cannot foresee, creating an invisible advantage that is almost impossible to counter. Observation also strengthens emotional control. When you watch without immediately reacting, you detach from impulse and gain perspective. You learn to interpret situations objectively. You learn to wait for the right moment to act. You gain the power to respond with intelligence rather than react with instinct. While others are caught in their emotions, you operate from strategy. Your mind becomes calm, precise, and untouchable. Every environment, every interaction, every challenge becomes a source of information. By observing carefully, you accumulate knowledge silently, invisibly, and continuously. You learn from every conversation, every encounter, every mistake, and every success around you. This information compounds into understanding, and understanding becomes power. People who underestimate observation fail to realize that insight often beats action that is blind or impulsive. Ask yourself, how often have you acted without truly seeing? How often have assumptions, haste, or distraction led you into unnecessary mistakes? The moment you commit to observing first, you gain the upper hand. You understand the rules of the game before the game begins. You identify opportunities that others overlook. You avoid traps that others stumble into. Observation gives you the invisible edge that turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Mastery of observation is mastery of the environment. It allows you to anticipate, adapt, and dominate without force or noise. It sharpens judgment, refines strategy, and multiplies effectiveness. The world is full of those who act blindly, speak without thought, and react without insight. The one who observes, sees all, understands all, and moves when the moment is perfect. Through disciplined observation, you become untouchable. You gain foresight where others guess. You gain patience where others panic. You gain clarity where others flounder. And in this space of awareness, you hold the advantage that outsmarts distraction, chaos, and the ordinary reactions of the world. Observation is not passive. It is the quiet power that guides every intelligent choice, every precise action, and every step toward mastery.